Welcome to Beyond the Boardroom, a podcast curated by the National Black MBA DFW Chapter. We are really excited to continue this podcast. We started a couple weeks ago, so we're on podcast number 3. Super pumped to really arm our members and community with some of those unwritten rules that, we don't really talk about too much, but we need to talk about a lot more, right, in order to truly thrive in our businesses as well as corporate America. As a reminder, this podcast truly is curated for our members. And so we want you to submit questions, constantly reach out to us on topics that you want to hear. Sometimes we can do an actual program on that on a Saturday or Thursday, but oftentimes we want to talk about really timely, relevant topics that just can't wait for us to plan out an actual program. And so with that, today is Monday. What's the actual date here? March 16th. It's a lot going on. So I wanted to put that timestamp there so you guys can have a sense of reference here because we will launch this in a couple of days. We're going to talk about truly the impact on this pandemic, coronavirus in particular, and that impact on the stock market. Okay, we see a lot of questions. I too have a lot of questions. And with that, I am going to introduce our very special guest here. We have Teri Ijeoma.
Yes.
Teri, I typically would I would read a bio maybe, but that's really not my style. I want you to introduce yourself in 3 words.
Millionaire stock trader.
All right.
That's my 3 words.
All right. Okay. Well, that's impactful enough, right? AKA listen to her throughout the balance of this. And then I also want to introduce our other panelists, Meiko Temple.
Hi, everybody. I'm Meiko Temple. I am the VP of Marketing of our DFW chapter.
You got 3 words?
Ooh, child. Foodie, creative, and happy.
I like that.
Hence the yellow.
That was shade, y'all. Y'all know that was shade.
Here I am, doom and gloom here, because it is. All right. Well, again, these podcasts are truly for our members. And with that, it is so many questions. And again, just to give you guys a frame of reference for how this topic even came about, I was talking to Meiko last week, something board related. And I was like, all right, let's start to think through our next podcast topics. And then for some reason, I went on a tangent talking about the stocks. And girl, what should I do with my 401k? And she was like, that's it.
That's it. Yeah.
And this is it. Okay, so Teri, millionaire trade?
Stock trader.
Stock trader, okay. We about to make some millions, right? Or avoid losing millions.
That'll work. Both.
Okay.
Both are good.
Okay, so I have a couple of questions again, members submitted. I'll just kind of go through them and we'll just address this one by one.
Sure.
So something happened today. You talk through it. You're the expert here. What happened and why should that matter to us and those that have stocks or bonds going on right now?
Sure. So today, the stock market, the Dow dropped 3,000 points in one day, which is the biggest drop since 1987.
Okay.
Yes. But here's the thing. So I want to give you guys a little perspective because the market's been dropping over the last week. And it first started when we found out about the coronavirus and we found out that China had a lot of people that had gotten corona and are now in quarantine and passed away. But then it accelerated when we found out about oil. And I know you guys are both probably new to it. So what happened with the oil is we just had a big supply of oil, too much oil in the market. So now the prices have dropped down to like really low, super low prices, which doesn't sound like a big thing, but when all the oil goes down at such a fast pace and you have corona, the stock market just seemed to plummet.
Coronavirus, not Corona, the drink.
Oh, yes.
I just want to clarify.
Y'all, we all know that it's called the Rona. Everybody done added a "the" to it, and it's just shortened to Rona.
The Rona.
Yeah, so we got the Rona.
We do like Corona. Beer, but just want to make sure, okay, for those that are listening. Okay, all right. So that's interesting to know because you're right. We don't hear much about the oil and that impact, and so I'm glad you explained that.
Yeah, and so now where we are is I think a lot of people are starting to, at first everyone was thinking, well, as long as it's dropping, we're getting into good prices, so we need to invest. But now we're starting to see that we're down 20% on the Dow, so that's a recession. That's recession levels. And also we're in a bear market. So when the market comes down from its highs 20%, then you're in a bear market, and now we've come down even to 30% below our highs. So now that's when they're like, okay, well, maybe a recession is coming. So now the question is, well, what do we do if we're in a recession in the stock market?
Okay, you mentioned bear market, and I just want to make sure we clarify what that means.
Sure. So for the longest time, about the last 10 years, the market has steadily been going up. And they call that a bull market because the market's rising. A bear market is where the trend starts turning, and now we're starting to go in a decline in the market over time. So it'll be like several years worth of a downtrend.
Okay.
But here's the thing. So I want to just give you guys like a little note. Right now, we're only down to where we were in December of 2018. So we're actually not down that far. If we really were starting to panic, we'd be down a lot lower. So what we have to see now is, are we going to hold these levels from 2018, or are we going to continue to break through that level and go down lower? That's what we're waiting for now. That'll dictate if you guys should invest right now or if you should wait and see the market come down a little lower. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. So, for me, I see a lot of comments around move fast, and you just said a word that I just want to make sure we address. Is you said wait.
It's okay to sit on the sidelines right now. We've never had coronavirus. Like, there's a couple things we've never had before. We've never had the Dow move so many points in a day. We've never had it move 3,000 points in a day. We've never had coronavirus spreading globally around the world. It's a global health pandemic now. And like in our lifetimes anyway, we haven't had where we were quarantined by force. Like the government literally shutting down restaurants, schools, stores. So this is a situation we've never seen before. So it's okay to sit on the sidelines and just see what happens.
Okay.
I actually have a question. So you brought up waiting. And if we had a crystal ball and we knew when the bottom hit, everybody would be doing it, right? But we don't. So is there a strategy that we can put in place to gradually take advantage of optimizing that bottom?
Great question. So we do have a lot of stocks right now that are coming down to lows. For example, we have AutoZone. I know some of these companies are going to sound like, really, Teri? You look at AutoZone? AutoZone, it was up at like $1,200 just a week ago. It came down to $800. Like, that's a $400 drop. Roku, it was at $160. Everybody is now going to be at home watching TV, but now
That's so
today
true.
it came down under $60. So we're going to get these great companies with really wonderful opportunities to buy. So you're right. This is a time to find some really good companies at a low price. If you're okay with waiting for a year, then you could go ahead and pick at a few stocks. Like, okay, I think this is a good company for the long run. Even like I made like $30,000 on Friday. And it was a day the market had come back up, but in general, we're coming down. Oh,
Hey, man.
I lost $20,000. What do you mean? Over the weekend. But go ahead.
but what I had invested in was Teladoc. But it's one of those companies where the whole government just said we're going to have to start doing doctor visits from virtual doctor visits. It's a good company. You know that it will eventually do well. So yes, there are some companies that if you really believe in the stock, you can get in. But what I really encourage you got to learn how to read charts. And that's what I teach my students. I'm a technical analysis trader. I don't want you to just trade based on your feeling. I think this is a good company. My mama said, get in this stock. No, like if you're able to read candlesticks on a chart, that would tell you when to get in and when to get out.
That's good.
That's good. That's good guidance there. All right. So I know we're talking about, we kind of jump straight to those that are potentially like actively, in the stock market. But there are some of us who, have investments in our 401ks, for instance. So, I mean, can you speak to that? Because again, that's what I said. I just saw my 401k go down quite a bit.
Sure.
And what do I do? What can I do? What should, if anything, do I do?
So in terms of, I know several people right now are investing in 401ks and they feel a bit helpless. Like, Teri, there's nothing that I can do. So on the front end, let me just say a couple pre-work steps and then like what you could do for real. So pre-work, in a crisis like this is not the time to start figuring out your password and like figuring out who your 401k is actually with. Because I'm telling you, like a lot of us, we don't even know how to log into our 401k.
Proving at y'all, okay?
So that's step number one. Please go to your company and start figuring out how to even log in and check. And then once you're in, there is a phone number you can call that talks about your allocations. And sometimes you can even do this on the computer. But I do want you all to know that cash is an allocation. So what does that mean? Right now, your stock, your 401k is invested in several probably mutual funds. And those mutual funds, when the whole market goes down, they'll go down too. You can ask your 401k to actually move that allocation into cash. And that way, as the market's falling, your account balance is not falling. And you can then call them to get back in when the market's coming back up. Now, I will say, like, yes, you may miss the bottom. So by the time you make the phone call to get back in, it may have come back up. But at least you don't have to wait and watch it fall, especially during a time like this where we don't know what's going to happen next.
Okay, so let's pause on that for a second. I want to make sure I'm super clear. So you're saying for some of us, and I don't know if this is a global recommendation, but for those that have 401ks that may feel a little helpless because we have these bundles, right, that we kind of just signed up for. Are you saying just move some of that or all of that to cash?
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, so yes, exactly what you're saying. You can move some of it to cash.
Okay.
And you're not going to take it out of the 401k. So don't ask them like, I want to do a withdrawal and get all my money right now.
Right.
Like, you're going to keep it in the 401k, but just ask them to allocate it to a cash position. It'll stay in that account. You won't have to pay fees for like taking it out early, but at least you'll have a little sanity. And what I've found is, like, there's two things I always protect. One is my account balance, like how much money is in my portfolio, and then the other one is my sanity. And if I feel like I cannot sleep well at night, or I'm having anxiety attacks because my money is in the stock market, that's when I want you to go ahead and say, hey, I'm protecting my sanity.
Yep.
I'm going to go ahead and move it over to cash so it doesn't go down. And then when things shake out, I'll move it back.
Okay. So what signals, I guess, to that point, because I imagine there's some listeners that are like, oh, okay, cool. Let me go find my password, number one, and two. Let's get this cash allocation going. Not withdraw cash. We don't need your tax bill to be super high
Right.
next year. But I guess, what are the signals that we should look out for? Because again, there's some that are like super active and, you guys get it, but there's many of our members who are passive in this, and still learning. So what are the signals we should be looking for?
Sure. So, of course, like, you're right. For me, I'm always going to be thinking about, like, you got to learn how to read a chart, because me looking at a chart, I knew that we would have a little bit of a bump up today because we just got back to the lows of 2018. If we pass through that level, we'll keep going down. But for someone who doesn't know those things, I would say make sure you're paying attention to CNBC. Go ahead and put the CNBC News app on your cell phone, because usually when anything big that's happening with the market comes up, it'll give you a notification. So that's one step you can do to just protect yourself.
Okay.
Also, if there's companies that you are invested in, like say you're in Apple and Tesla and something else, add those to the watch list on your CNBC app, because it'll also give you notifications about them. When you start consistently seeing them not go down as much and maybe even start coming into the green, then you'll know that things are starting to turn around. But if they're consistently still going down every day, then pause, because we haven't hit a bottom yet.
Okay. Cool. So you mentioned you're making money, which I'll take $5 when you get a chance.
Hey girl, here you go. You can just have my
I buy
pen.
some bread at Kroger if I can get some, or some toilet tissue. But so how
Ain't
are
nobody getting toilet tissue.
nobody?
Right.
Literally, I just
That's
came from
right.
Kroger,
Toilet
and
tissue
nobody's
and
getting it. Should we invest in that, by the way? I'm not even playing.
I think people should get some towels. Like, we got to go to old school. You don't need no toilet paper. Get you some washcloths that you can wash again in the washing machine. I'm just saying.
But you need detergent.
Yes,
therefore.
go
Okay.
and do
You
that.
gotta get something.
Get you some detergent.
I guess I go on tangents, y'all. Okay. But I guess my point is, like, so who's making money in this? Clearly you. But what? Help me understand how you are.
Sure. So there's something called shorting. That's making money when the stock market goes down, and that's what I've been doing. And there's a few ways to do that, but that might be a little too technical. So let me give you an idea of what shorting is. So if I were to sell you my cell phone for $1,000, so you give me $1,000 and I give you the cell phone, then I have to go buy another cell phone. So let's say I go to eBay and I find my same phone for $600. Well, I sold it for $1,000, but I went and bought it back lower for $600.
Gotcha.
Now I have $400 and a cell phone. That's what you're doing when you're shorting stock. You sell it high and then you buy it back low. Does that make sense?
It does.
So that's what we're doing with stocks. Like when the stock market was high, like on Friday, I sold some of the S&P. Today it dropped 3,000 points. So I buy it back lower and I made $16,000.
Okay. I don't see you taking notes over there, Meiko.
I know, I'm trying to capture it all. I wasn't smart enough to bring it.
No, I got you.
I'm gonna watch the playback. Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding. Okay. Teri, that was a lot. I feel like I just got schooled real quick in like 10 minutes. And I hope our listeners are taking notes truly. But let's just take a little break. And, you know, if you guys watch our podcast, you know, we like to have like a music intermission here. And so the question I have is let me make sure I get the question right first. What song comes to mind when you think about the current state of our economy today?
So my song is "Let Go, Let God," and it's y'all. I can't sing. Don't judge me now. But it's like I'm gonna just say the words. Yeah. Like soon as I stop worrying about how the story ends, and I just let go and let God. I think during this whole coronavirus scare,
yeah,
like there's some things that will be just out of our control, and we're gonna just have to give it to God and just pray that we stay okay.
All right, amen to that.
No, goodness, that was so good.
Miss Meiko.
I mean, I didn't take the high road. I would definitely have to say, MC Hammer, you can't touch this. Just don't touch me.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
Can't touch
That's
it.
a good
Yeah.
one. With the dance.
Yeah, do a little throwback.
Okay. So I'm kind of silly like Meiko, so thank you for balancing us in the middle here. Please let go and let God. But I was thinking, okay, so someone sent me a meme last night. You know who you are if you are watching this. That had the Isley Brothers, "Contagious."
That's a good one.
Yes.
That's a good. You gotta sing.
Yeah, you gotta sing a little bit.
Not. We'll get advanced one day and actually play the music, a little snippet, and not get in trouble. But yeah, that's the one that came to mind to me. Which again, and again, not to go too deep in this, but this is obviously a serious thing, you know, and we want to be conscious of that. And but at the same token, we laugh to keep from crying sometimes. So we gotta, you know. So like I said, I truly appreciate you balancing us out because it's tough. I mean, our lives are truly impacted right now, and this is unprecedented by far. So. All right, so we got some ratchet songs in there, and some godly songs.
Mine is categorized as old school.
Old school.
Yes. Yours is not ratchet. You just can't touch this.
Right,
you know?
exactly.
Fair enough. Okay, we got a few more minutes, so let's just break down. And I love that you already integrated some tactics and things that we can do today. So I appreciate that. And so I'll kind of build upon that. Is there anything else, whether you're actively, you know, in the market, doing things like shortening or shorten?
Yes, shortening.
Not shortening baking. But look, I'm a novice here. But what are some other things that we can do?
I definitely think that people should get educated. Yeah. So especially right now, like everybody has time at home. Like, what else are you going to do? Like, yeah, you can work. You're supposed to be working. But, you know, like, you also have time with your computer. This is the time to take some online courses. Yeah. Like, of course, I would recommend my trade and travel program if people want to learn how to invest in the stock market. But this is the time to actually learn. Also, start building up your cash. Open up your broker account right now. Start putting cash in it so that when it is time to invest, these prices are so low, you're ready to go. You don't want to be getting ready when the prices jump back up. So those are a few tips. Open your brokerage account, get educated, and start building up cash.
You recommend a platform for the brokerage account?
I do. I like TradeStation. I know a lot of people have recommended like Robinhood, but they crashed several times last week. And, you know, when the volumes get too high, they're not as reliable. So the one that I use and my students use is called TradeStation. And they're a professional broker for professional traders. It's a good one.
Okay.
Can I jump in real quick?
Yeah.
A lot of the chat groups that I'm in, I'm hearing people getting laid off. I'm hearing that their salaries are being cut. That may be the instance for some of our members. And they may need to get access to cash quickly. Are there certain investment accounts that is better to pull from at this time than others?
Great question. I will say, in terms of better accounts, no. If there's one that's been dropping a lot, though, I do think you should stop the bleeding. So there's some people that as soon as they see red in their account, like, oh man, this account has gone down a lot, they just walk away and try to just forget it and act like it's not there. It's okay to actually take the cash, like get out of those positions, take the cash. And then when you are, like I said, when the market does come back up, you can get back in. You could even put a limit order in the computer to get you back in at that price. But those are some of the accounts that I would stop the bleeding at least.
Awesome. And then you mentioned some online courses. You want to kind of dig into that? And also, I'd love to hear what you have going on, too. I think that's important.
Sure. So my class is called Trade and Travel. And people can find, I have like a webinar on how I make $1,000 a day at itradeandtravel.com. But we go through everything. So there's 7 different classes. I start with the novice investor. Then I go into risk management, how to protect yourself from losing. Then we go into technical analysis. So how do you read charts? Because remember, that's what I said. You got to learn to read charts, and that'll help you time the market. Like, when do I get into the trade? When do I get out? Then we go into shorting. So how do you make money when the market goes down? We do gaps and Globex. So a lot of the stuff we're seeing right now with coronavirus, there's during the pre-market overnight, China reports and some of the other markets report. So a lot of the movement happens overnight. That's Globex trading. So we go over those things, and then we do options.
Okay.
So all that's covered in my trade and travel class.
Awesome.
Yeah, they can just go to itradeandtravel.com.
All right. Y'all got that? Got it. All right. Meiko going to be on there tonight.
You know it. I mean,
But
not
I guess,
kidding.
again, just to kind of circle back with this conversation, again, if half of my timeline is like, ooh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and then you have those sit on the sidelines like, ooh, should I do this? How should, so it sounds like to me, people should probably get educated a little more before just jumping in the pool here.
Yes.
Okay.
We have quite a few people when commissions went to zero. So when Robinhood and all the brokerage accounts went to zero, they started just, I'm going to jump in and they had no education, but they just jumped in. So right now, many of those people may be hurting right now, but it's because they didn't have education on the front end.
Okay.
So now is the time to definitely educate yourself on how to invest in the stock market for real.
Okay.
Yeah. And can I just real quick revisit this one? I also think this is a good time to learn how to use your money to make income. So for those people who are getting laid off, like I have lots of teachers right now that are in my course. I was an assistant principal of an elementary school before I started trading full time. This is a great profession for anybody that needs money on the side. Because if you have some money in your savings account and you know how to work it with trading, this will supplement your income when you're laid off or when your hours are taken down. So I do think learning how to actively invest is a good tool for them.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's great. And, I just have one last question because it just came to mind. There's a lot of stores closing right now. And I'm just curious your thoughts on for those that, like, you hear about Nike, Apple stores. Actually, a link that we posted on our Facebook page for our members, stores, and it's steadily being updated on stores that are closing in the area. Do you think those particular brands, what is your thought process on where those brands are going to go from a stock perspective?
So there's 2 trains of thought. There's what we can physically see, and then there's what's really happening in the production side. So us as consumers, we see that stores are closing down on the front end. But then you got to think about, so for example, Amazon. Amazon is having one of their best years ever right now because everybody is buying stuff and it's sold out. Walmart, although they're lowering their hours, their shelves are empty. So when we get to earnings, I think our expectations, I'm excited about it. I know this is not supposed to be excited, but when we get to earnings, I feel like a lot of these companies are going to report that they're doing better than we think. Because even though the store is closed, people can still buy things online. They can still get it shipped. Now you have all this time to shop online. So I have a feeling there's a lot of production going on that we don't know about. But yes, if I come back to the other side, what we see on the front end, it will hurt people's paychecks because they won't have hours to
Yes.
Like, they won't be in the store.
Yep.
It will hurt some production because, they won't have the retail sales. Like Apple stores are closing, they won't have retail sales in the store.
Yeah.
So there is going to be a bit of balance, like, a bit of uproar for now, but I have a feeling at earnings we're going to get some better reports than we think.
Okay. All right then. Well, guys, we just wanted to have a really brief conversation on this, and hopefully it was empowering for you to either wait, don't do anything silly, or now be a little bit more strategic about what you do and the timing that you do it. So hopefully this was helpful for you. Truly, the goal of our podcast is to provide timely guidance on topics that are like in the news, right? So again, hopefully this was helpful. We're going to bring Teri back for a part 2. So we do hope that you continue to subscribe to us, and we'll talk a little bit more about investing. So thank you, Teri, and thanks Meiko for joining us. You guys have a good one.